We may have to decide, that we just can't take these cases until we get our caseloads down to where we can effectively represent the state.
Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha fresh from a fight with the governor and getting what he wanted in the end.
Holding the powerful accountable from Washington, D.C. to right here in southern New England. This is 10 News Conference with Jean Valicenti.
It was really just kind of disorienting. I didn't know where to go when I first started looking into my mom's case. And if something like this had existed back then, it certainly would have been a huge help.
That's Lauren Malloy looking for justice in her mother's murder, a case that went cold but might heat up again with more funding now for cold cases in the Attorney General's office. Let's get right to Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha in with us on 10 News Conference. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Gene.
A lot to talk about. This case, in these cold cases, you wanted more money to pursue that.
Yeah.
And I know the governor kind of cut your budget a little bit, but you got what you wanted in the end, correct?
Yeah, look, yes is the short answer. We were looking for more resources to help us do cold cases, more work in the environment, energy, healthcare. All needed resources. Our office is chronically understaffed.
Yep.
We're half of the size we should be. So this investment of 15 new resources will help us quite a bit.
All right. So you complained you weren't getting enough money. I know the governor gave you a pushback. We'll get to your relationship with him. It's not the best. That's no secret here. But what did you do? You went to Senate President Ruggiero and Sikarch and said, "Here's what I need." And you got what you needed.
Well, yeah.
Make it simple for us.
Yeah. Look, we made a strong case. I mean, if you think about where this state would have been had our office not been here for the last 4 years, we'd be looking at a healthcare system that would have failed in North Providence, Fatima Hospital, and Roger Williams, because we stepped in there and got $80 million in escrow. We were able to analyze the merger between Lifespan and Care New England. 80% potentially of our healthcare in one place. Department of Health couldn't do that. We intervened on Block Island and got a great result out there. So what was my pitch? If you give us these resources, we will deliver. We're doing more than ever. We're understaffed. Our caseloads are too high. And so I said to the Speaker and the Senate President, give us these resources, we'll continue to deliver. And they saw the case that I made was strong, and I'm very grateful to the General Assembly for this investment.
Before you went to them and you saw what the governor sent over, what he was proposing, why didn't you pick up the phone and talk to him? You guys don't talk. That's not a healthy relationship.
Well, look,
you're a cabinet member, he's the governor.
Sure.
You don't.
Well, I'm not a cabinet member. I'm an independent constitutional officer.
You're a general officer.
Correct.
Not a cabinet member. You're absolutely right. General officer,
correct.
Elected, and I know the difference. I
know you do.
General officer, but it's not a healthy relationship that you can't call him.
Yeah. Well, look, the staff works just fine together. But let me go through that budget question that you just asked. So every year we go and make a pitch to a governor as to what we think we need.
Right.
And with Governor Raimondo, look, we know that we're not likely to get everything, but we often get a phone call that says, well, look, we can't do this. What creative solutions do you have? This is the way it went. We made our pitch, we didn't get any questions, then the budget was proposed without any resources for the office. And so under those circumstances, I felt like I needed to fight for my office, and by fighting for my office, fighting for Rhode Islanders. And that's what we did, and we achieved the right result in the end.
But if you had a better relationship with the governor, you said, this is Rhode Island. We all know each other.
Yes.
You would have picked up the phone and said, hey, can you help me out a little bit here? I need a little more. You're hurting me over here. You didn't do that because you have no relationship with him. When did this all fall apart?
Well, look, it's hard for me to really pinpoint it, Gene. I think, look, let's just be candid. Let's be candid. The office has done a series of investigations involving the governor and or his staff. And whether that has crossed a hair up there, I don't know. But I do know that...
Oh, wait. let me make a leap of faith.
Maybe it has.
Crossed a hair. You have the ILO investigation still pending. You brought an investigation along with the FBI while he was running for office. So I may have phrased that a little naively, but let's pursue it. You crossed his hair.
Yeah, look, I think the bottom line is we do investigations as they come to us. The investigation of Bud Craddock down at the DMV.
Yep.
I mean, we came out pretty strongly about how that, as the owner of a rental property that was running a prostitution ring, not Mr. Craddock himself, but probably should have known what was going on there.
Yes.
We did an investigation into Mr. Silva, the then chief of staff of the governor, which was not complimentary, let's face it. And so whether those things or other things have led to this point, I don't know. But the bottom line is this. As an independent constitutional officer, I have everything I need to do my job for the people of the state of Rhode Island. Absent resources. We got those resources, and we're going to continue to deliver.
So with regard to Bud Craddock, you spanked him. You wrote a very nasty report in the end. You didn't charge him. Same thing with Tony Sylvia. You spanked him.
Correct.
And with the governor, we don't know if you're going to spank him because the ILO report is not in. Why don't you tell me now? Are you going to spank him?
Oh, I can't give you that, Gene. Look, there's an ongoing investigation with my colleagues in the federal government. And whether it involves the governor directly or not, I'm not in a position to say, nor can I predict the outcome of that investigation. We'll see where it lands.
All right. You know, it's been going on a long time.
Yeah, not unusual, though, for federal investigations.
I know, but he was running for re-election. I felt it was a cloud over his head.
Yeah, understood.
That apparently crossed his hair. Can you see his side of the story? That,
of course I do, but you know, we have a job to do. I have a job to do, and the politics can't enter into the job. I have a job to do when it comes to investigating allegations of misconduct. I have that duty to the people of Rhode Island to do that, and I can't change that timing based on politics. Sometimes it's unfortunate. It's certainly not the only time it's happened. We try to address it the best way we can, and I like to think I was fair about it. You asked me once about it, and I said, look, no one should make any judgments until the investigation is over.
So you think all these things you just mentioned, do you think he wanted to spank you back? Maybe with that budget proposal that didn't give you enough money.
Who knows? Look, the bottom line was this, Gene. I knew all along that because of the good work that we've done, I had $16 million in a bank account that could only be used for legal fees for my office. And look, if we'd been able to have that conversation with the governor, we may have ended up in a different place faster. But it got done in the end. And I will tell you, for the morale of the office, it's been a great thing, and we are going to continue to deliver for Rhode Islanders.
All right, you've said you don't have enough staff. Now let me ask you this: the state troopers in Massachusetts get paid better. Okay, sometimes Rhode Island we don't line up or match up with other states because of our size, because of our demographics, because of a lot of things. So make the case. You're saying we're what? Well, if you're understaffed, you've always been understaffed in Rhode Island.
Totally. So let me give you the best comparison point. The state of Delaware is the same size as Rhode Island, same population. They have an AG's office just like ours. It's unique. Right. It's both the AG function and the DA function, meaning we prosecute all the serious crimes and we handle all the civil matters, healthcare, environmental, energy, et cetera, consumer protection. Just like our office. Twice the number of attorneys, more than twice actually, 250 attorneys. I have 100. We are just chronically understaffed. Now, we're getting it done, but it is a strain on the office. And I do think that we do lose, in some instances, good people because the workloads are incredibly high. My special victims unit, which does cases involving crimes against children, those 10 prosecutors have over 200 cases each. That is not sustainable. They're doing a great job. They're hungry to do the work, but it's taken its toll. And at least these 15 resources are going to help us, for sure.
Right. With regard to Governor McKee, he's having a bad week. Number one, there was the Capitol Grill sizzler, the email, the Philadelphia story. You're familiar with the Cranston Street Armory redevelopment. What a frittata this thing is.
Yes.
Does that pique your interest? Are you looking at that from your point of view as Attorney General?
Well, look, the state police, we know, have been doing an investigation. The governor asked for it, but the state police can't effectively do a criminal investigation without working with us, because should they find something, it's my office that in the end has to prosecute it. And I think we are better when we are working cases together. So, long answer, I'll get to the point now. We are now working with the state police to just see what this is. This could be sort of minor, there's no minor ethics issue, but they may not be things that my office would address and are best addressed by the Ethics Commission, but I'm not in a position to say that affirmatively, definitively right now.
You said that it was news to you to find out the state police were investigating, that the governor had referred that email to the state police. You were not happy about that.
Well, look, I think I've been a prosecutor for a long time, Gene. It's most of my career, and I've led prosecutorial offices now for more than a decade. I know whether the investigating agency is the FBI or the state police. We're better when we're brought in early. That didn't happen here. Look, I cast no blame on the state police or on anybody else. From their perspective, they want to reach a certain point before they come to us. You know, that's more of an art than a science, but we're on the same page now, and we'll get to the right place.
So you don't think Colonel Weaver owed you a phone call? Say, look, Mr. Attorney General, I got this from the governor. I just want you to know I'm looking into this.
Yeah, you know,
deal.
look, would I prefer that to happen? Sure. Okay. But we're on the same page now. We had a good meeting in my office about 10 days ago, and we're continuing to talk. We're going to meet again this week. So we're on the same page.
All right, and you're on the case, so to speak. This
whole
thing with Philadelphia, you're there.
Yeah, look, the state police effectively can't do a criminal investigation without my office. So eventually this had to come together, and it has now.
All right, when we come back more with the Attorney General, let's talk health care. It's a big issue for you, and there's a lot to do still ahead. We'll be right back.
Thank you for turning to 10, your news leader. 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti continues right now.
You know, oftentimes that's going to be involve a balancing of the privacy interest of the person involved with the with how the record, in this case the body cam footage, advances the public interest.
Body cams, every police department's going to get them. In fact, I think most have them by now. Remember, Attorney General, you support this. Are they working out as you'd expect?
Yeah, look, we put together the policy, Gene, and I'm really pleased we were able to get the funding from the General Assembly and a federal grant we obtained. The delegation was great as well, and they're on A lot of police officers will be on all of them, in the near future, and they are really helping us drive to the truth of what happens when there is the intersection of the public and police officers, which sometimes doesn't always go as well as we'd like. So they're really helpful in that regard.
All right, let's talk healthcare. You had a big role in healthcare, particularly with the failed Lifespan Care New England merger that just flopped. And there's a change in the administration at both of those hospitals, new people in. I had them in, and they both said, look, when it comes to merger talk, that's a long way out.
Yeah.
Would you consider, you think a merger is still in the best interest of those two entities, even though you scuttled the last one?
Well, it's hard to say, Gene. So when you put, if they still have 80% of our healthcare system, I think the threshold is 30% with the FTC. And so that's also our target. So they're just too big now to merge in a way that I think would be good for Rhode Islanders. But I think if you step back, we really have to understand what's driving our healthcare problems. And we're working on that in the office. And what I can tell you now is this, that every healthcare system in Rhode Island, at best, can meet its bottom line, meaning they can pay their ongoing expenses. But what they can't do is invest back into their infrastructure.
Right.
And the reason for that is that their private-public payer mix is not where it should be. So what do I mean by that? All of them, even the ones in the best shape, are at around 70% Medicare or Medicaid, and the 30% is commercial insurance. When you have that mix, and your reimbursements in Rhode Island are already less than they are in, say, in Massachusetts, it's really hard for hospitals to meet the bottom line, stay in the black on operating costs, and invest back into the hospitals. So we have to fundamentally change that mix, and there are lots of ways to do that. Raise Medicaid, grow more jobs in Rhode Island so that we get more people on commercial real estate. It's complicated, but I worry that we're not thinking strategically enough, and we need to do that to make sure that our hospitals don't fail.
That's a politician's workload. You're the Attorney General. You're the regulator. Am I correct?
Well, we're also the healthcare advocate, Gene.
Yeah.
So as healthcare advocate, we have a big role in healthcare. Yes, we regulate, but also there's no reason we can't do strategic thinking, particularly if there's an absence of it elsewhere in state government, which I believe that there is. So we are really working towards coming up with a plan where we can both explain the problem, as we've just done a little bit with you, and then propose solutions.
Now, your hand in this merger, and what turned out to be a failed merger, it was scuttled largely on your report and your recommendations not to go ahead with it. That amounted in a change at the top for both of these hospitals. There are new people running this with a new vision, and they told me that any merger is way out. Have you met with both of these new people?
I have.
Do you know them?
Yeah. Look, I think it is. I think it says a lot when everybody involved in healthcare, frankly, wants to meet with me and come to my office and talk. Senator Rhode and I had a great conversation recently around healthcare and what he could do to help this problem in Rhode Island. So yeah, I've met with both of them. They're not coming to me to talk about merger. They're talking about what I just said to you. We can get to the black. Dr. Wagner was very direct about that with me. I can get to the black. I can get there with hard work. But being able to invest back into my hospital to grow my margin is very difficult the way healthcare is structured in Rhode Island. So we have to rethink how we structure healthcare. And we can do it. If we increase our Medicaid reimbursements, we can get more federal money. But we haven't started working on that yet. So that's just one place we can go. We can fix this, but we need to have the strategic thinking to do it. And I'm hoping that my office can deliver it. And it's one of the reasons I asked for more resources, because 2 of those resources are going to go to just that.
Over at Lifespan, President Fernandez told me over the past 10 years, they've only made $5 million on average. And they would have lost money without the pandemic aid.
Yeah, I saw your interview.
They need to make multiples of that.
Sure.
That's a larger problem.
It is a larger problem.
You addressed a lot of what you think would be the solution.
Yes.
But that's the money situation over there. $5 million a year. That's not a lot of money for a place like that.
It is. And Gene, it's worse elsewhere. At Fatima and Roger Williams Hospital, we got $80 million in escrow from that private equity firm because they put those hospitals in a bad place. And that was the condition on which I would approve a change of ownership there. But 5 years out, that $80 million is going to be gone. And then what happens? You've got 2 hospitals with no endowment that can't make the bottom line. We know that they can't make the bottom line. They're going to go one of 2 places, okay, unless we change how we're doing healthcare. They're either going to close or they're going to go to the General Assembly for money. We have to be ready for that moment.
Give me the either or with regard to Roger Williams and Fatima.
I'm sorry, Gene.
With regard to Fatima.
Yes.
And Roger Williams. What's the either or with those?
Yeah, look, that is the either or. When the 5 years is up, when my $80 million I have in escrow to keep them going and invest is gone, they've either got to close or they're going to go to the General Assembly for more money unless we restructure how we pay for health care. The company that owns, this is not an empty statement I'm making here, the company that owns those hospitals, they own 20 around the country, they've already closed 5 that are just like our hospitals. They're going to close those hospitals unless we reimagine healthcare here or the General Assembly bails them out. And we know there's no appetite for that.
Let's peripheral discussion. CVS.
Yeah.
I had you on and I said, would you be shy to go after CVS with regard to the opioid crisis that they had a hand in? They're going to write a big check for that.
They are.
And we're going to get some of it, but not a lot of it. What's your take on CVS?
We're getting quite a bit. We're getting tens of millions of dollars, so it's going to be a lot of money coming in.
It's a multi-billion-dollar settlement paid over time. It's the size of your state and things like that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so look, if you look at the money that we brought in from the opioid crisis alone, we're nearing $250 million before we added Walmart and CVS and Walgreens. So that money is already delivering results on the ground here. And so that just adds to the amount of money we have. And there's no reluctance on my part on going after CVS. There were two options there: bring our own lawsuit or join with my fellow AGs. And at the end of the day, that's what we decided to do, and that money's going to now flow.
So there was no trepidation in getting very aggressive with CVS because it's the home team.
I don't think I could ever be.
Why might a reporter wonder that?
No, look, I don't think anyone would accuse me of being not as aggressive as I should be. I think the complaint about me may be the opposite, but I think, and I say this to our young lawyers, we're here to fight for Rhode Islanders, and there's no fight I won't take on for them. Yeah. Look what happened with Rhode Island Energy. Okay, the DPUC effectively ruled against Rhode Islanders, and we went to court to get $200 million back for Rhode Islanders when it comes to energy and energy rates. And the DPUC filed a brief against me. That's an astounding thing if you think about it. A state agency went to court and argued with National Grid that the Attorney General should not be fighting for them. Those are the kinds of problems we have to fix in Rhode Island. And if we don't fix them, we're not going to get to a better place.
You know, you mentioned you used to be the U.S. Attorney. Just out of the blue, what's your take on what's going on with the Biden family? And the charges that were brought against Hunter, and these charges that it was a sweet deal, favorable treatment, two standards of justice. What's your take on that, just as an observer now?
Yeah, Gene, it's hard to say without being inside that case. I will say this. You know, the Department of Justice is full of career prosecutors. They have civil service protection, and so they don't serve at the pleasure of the president or the Attorney General. And in general, I have a lot of faith in the Justice Department.
And you want to hold it there?
Yes.
All right. We've only got a couple of minutes. Perfect timing for that question to come out. With regard to the truck tolls, that case continues. We're spending a lot of money on truck tolls.
Exactly.
Fighting it.
Yeah. Look, that's a decision, frankly, of the Governor and the General Assembly. Right. I support them in that decision because I think there's an opportunity to get success there. But, look, we'll see how it plays out in court.
All right. Attorney General Peter Neronha, nice to have you in.
Gene,
before I let you go, I do know you wanted to talk about environmental issues and enforcement of environmental laws. You think you're making progress there? So I'll give you the last word on that.
Yeah, look, we've stepped up across the state. We injected ourselves into the issue with the Blackstone River. We took the city of Woonsocket and the private operators to court. You can't have sewage flowing into our Blackstone River, and we're going to fight to make sure that doesn't happen again. We fought for public access to the shoreline, including in Westerly. The team is really doing great environmental work, and I'm proud of them.
Right, and with regard to the environment, we talk about Johnston's Pond.
Oh, Johnston's Pond, you're really involved there too, Gene, making sure that level doesn't go back to where it was last summer. Those residents deserve much better than that.
Those residents didn't know that pond or the water rights were for sale when this whole first thing happened.
Yeah, look,
did that surprise you? That's the way it was working out there?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did. And then when I went out there and visited it last summer, you could easily see that someone needed to step in. And so with the help of some freshwater mussels, we were able to go to court and stop the drainage of that pond, and we're in a good place going forward. Look, we're all about finding the tools we need to do to make Rhode Island and Rhode Islanders better. And what we're able to find in that case is that draining the pond impacted freshwater mussels, and that was the lever we used to get the drainage stopped.
All right, I gave you the last word because you wanted to talk about that. Thanks for coming in. We'll continue it on the radio.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Attorney General Peter Neronha.